Model railways are an expensive hobby and only seem to be getting more expensive. However, there are a lot of different model railway scales, with some being more expensive than others. Today I'm going to go through these different scales and find out which is the cheapest. Obviously the different scales won't all have the same products available, so to make the comparisons between the scales more equal, to start in a scale you need a train set. This needs to be at least a locomotive, 2 coaches or 3 wagons, loop of track and a controller. If the scale does not have a train set available, I'll create one with separate products. No pre-owned products will be used and they should be available to buy online. We start with the smaller scale, T gauge, which is 1 to 450 scale, which is tiny. The cheapest train set I found cost £219.46. For that, you get a loop of track, 2 HST power cars, 2 Mark III coaches, and a controller. I think the small size, which will be hard for a beginner to handle, but does mean it doesn't take up a lot of space at all in a room if you don't have a lot of space for a model railway. There is other locomotives and rolling stock available, but there is not much, especially compared to other scales. Next up is Z scale, which is 1 to 220 scale. I could not find any British Z scale. It seems to be mainly made by Marklin, which is a German company, but I did find for sale by Gauge Master a starter set which cost £179.95, so cheaper and larger than the T-gauge train set. In the train set you get a loop of track and a controller, an 060 tank engine and 2 wagons, which I assume are of German prototype, or certainly at least European. If you don't mind European prototypes, I'm assuming mostly German due to Marklin being a German company, there is a decent range of electric and steam locomotives. Being a bit larger, it means it's easier to handle, but I think it'll still be quite difficult to handle as a beginner. You may want British prototypes, which probably means if you do, this scale isn't for you. An N scale, which is 1 to 148 scale, the cheapest train set I could find was for £110.50. For that you get a Kato electric loco, inspired by the North Eastern Railway ES1. You also get a loop of track, Kato controllers, and 2 21-ton coal hoppers. From my own experience, I found that the loco is a really good runner. It is bigger than Z scale, but is still quite small, but I think it would be fine for a beginner to handle. Venge gauge being one of the main scales, there is plenty of support and lots of locomotives, rolling stock and scenery easily available. If you want something a bit more realistic, as the loco and the Kato train set is freelance, Graham Forrest did the Western Rambler train set, which includes a loop of track controller, 2 16XX pannier tank, 2 wagons and a towed brake van for £161, so a bit more expensive, but you do get a lot more detail. TT120, recently introduced by Hornby, has a few train sets available. Cheapest I found was the Easterner train set at £174.50, while more expensive than N-gauge. You do get an A4, 3 coaches and a loop of track, with a controller and a siding as well, which we haven't seen in other train sets. So while more expensive, it does have an extra siding and an extra coach. There is some availability, and likely will be more as Hornby continues to expand its range. Due to its size, it should be easy for beginners to handle. OO gauge, being the most popular model railway scale, has lots of train sets available, as well as plenty of products. The cheapest train set I found, ignoring the Coca-Cola train set, was the Valley Drifter train set at just £89.99, so the first train set at under £100. In the train set though, you do only get a basic Hornby 040, a wagon, a 4-wheel coach, a loop of track and a controller. So while not the most detailed, it is cheap and easy for beginners and even children to handle. If you want something that is a bit more realistic than the basic Hornby train set, Batman make the Station Pilot train set. This costs £189.95, so quite expensive, but you do get an LNWR coal tank, 2 Mark I coaches and a general utility van, as well as a loop of track and a controller. This train set has an extra coach, and the wide availability and range of products in OO gauge is really good, so it's probably a really easy scale to start in. 009, which is 4mm scale running on N-gauge track, does not have any train sets available, but creating my own it came to £231, so 80p, so the most expensive so far. There is plenty of scenic items available because it uses the same scale as double O gauge, but there is a relative lack of rolling stock available, with it only being made by Pecco, Batman and Helgen. at least for British prototypes. This train set I've created uses a Helldren Lynn loco and 3 009 wagons made by Pecco, as well as a Pecco starter set, which does include an extra siding as well as a loop of track. The wagons they used were a Southern Railway bogie box van and 2 009 flat wagons, as well as a Helldren Lynn loco. In O gauge, there's not a train set available, but for £268.95 you get 2 Dapper open wagons, a brake van, and an LMS Ginty, and a looper track and a siding, with a point obviously. The rolling stock's all by Dapple. Their products seem to be quite cheap in O gauge, despite being quite detailed, at least from what I've seen in reviews. While the track is a Pecco starter set and includes a looper track and a point in the siding. There's obviously a lot of detail, and the rolling stock is large, so maybe that's a reason why it's quite expensive. Obviously it takes up a lot of space, and there's quite a lot of support, so it's something certainly different to start in O gauge. Obviously easy for beginners to handle, but maybe too many details, I don't know, but also they are a bit bigger, so less fine details possibly. I'm not sure, I don't have much experience with detailed O gauge, so, but I don't know how well it'd be for beginners starting. And finally, 60mm scale. For a looper track and a siding, a loco and 2 wagons cost £136.95. So despite its large size, it's quite cheap. The only problem is you have to make them yourself. But the Houston Gate Loco Works kits are cheap and different, so I thought I'd mention them. Obviously, if you want ready to run 60mm, it'll cost a lot more likely into the thousands of pounds. But these kits, you know, if you can solder together just a battery box to a motor and a switch, and just put together sort of a laser cut kit, you know, it's not that hard really. I've done it myself. It's a certainly different thing, you know. You might have space in a garden, but you might not have space in a house, I don't know. Or it's a bit easier to run on the carpet or on the floor or something. But it's something different and a bit more freelance, a bit more choice, you know. Something a bit different you don't often see. From these results, unsurprisingly, O gauge has the cheapest train set. But if you want a more detailed train set, N gauge actually has the cheapest train set. The next cheapest is 16mm, but we kind of ignore that because you have to assemble the kits yourself. TT scale is next. That may come down in price if it becomes more popular, I don't know. Z scale is close behind, with T scale then after that, despite their small sizes. O gauge is the most expensive, not surprising because it is quite large and well detailed. Hopefully these results are interesting and hopefully useful. Thank you for watching this video by me. Please like and subscribe and leave a comment down below with some video ideas or feedback. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.